There we go. There we go. There we go. Start this all over. It's about to be live. It is alive. Bring that down a little bit. Thank y'all so much for being here. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Audio should be all good. I see all systems a go. So you could just maybe put a 1 if all systems are a go. I see it on my end, but that's not your responsibility, right? That is my responsibility. You're coming here to listen, to get a word, to get a message, and that is your prerogative, right? What's going on, Shalitha, Josh? I appreciate you. First of all, I just want to say thank y'all so much, as always, for giving up of your time. If you're here live, wonderful. If you are re-listening and you're coming here for the first time and you missed day 1, that's perfectly fine. Even if you aren't fasting right now, maybe you're just new to this concept, or maybe you're like, man, I don't believe in that. I've done it before, or, have I done it intentionally? Or maybe I just need to hear a message. I just want to listen to you, Dr. B. Like, that's perfectly fine. So this is welcoming any and everybody to come here to this platform. And whether you came here from some of the other videos and you stumbled upon some of these, you're like, oh man, this dude is, a man of God. He's faithful, or, he has a spirit of giving and a heart center to pour out into others in various different fashions. So thank y'all so much. And let me give you a quick agenda. Make sure not the music is overlapping me so you can hear clearly, but quick agenda tonight. Our message is going to be seeking God's presence. And I always make a disclaimer that I'm not a pastor. I'm just a steward of the word. I'm just translating it from my mouth onto this platform and giving people the space and the presence of God to just think whatever they believe it's serving for them in this season. So take the words, not from my mouth, but take the words into your ears, and then convey them into how it serves you in this season. All right. So with all that being said, seeking God's presence, I'm going to give you, as always, just like yesterday, a little bit of, if you're inside of our Discord, amazing. If you're not, that's cool too, right? We do have a thought leader hub. That's our community inside of Leverage University, where we have additional conversations. We get into community, right? And it also helps to grow the platform, right? God says we should not ask for money. Like, hey, if I'm serving and you feel so inclined, great. Like, you want to join the community, cool. But that's why I'm on these YouTube platforms and Instagram platforms and all these things, that just show up, right? That's the least of us that we can do as thought leaders, is just show up, just be seen, right? So with all that being said, let's jump into it today. I'll give you a summary of how my fast has been going and how I've been operating in it. But before I do, here's, if you're taking notes, our focus is seek God's presence and deeper intimacy with him. If you are a person that's coming on here and you are a believer in some other God, that's perfectly fine. If you are a believer in more spiritual nature, you have a universal, that's cool too. I personally believe in God. If you believe in something else, that's fine. We're a welcoming community, but understand that you've got to have faith outside of yourself, right? We've got to have belief outside of ourselves, and then welcome in good energy and work on the things that are worth it. Work on those things in your life, relationships, finances, right? Really put in effort and do your best. If you've done all you can do, that's all you can do, right? The scripture today is going to be from Psalm 42, verse 1 through 2. Psalm 42, verse 1 through 2. Our fasting focus today should and still can be, for some of you, if you haven't reflected on today, dedicate your time and attention to spending time in God's presence. Do you spend time with him today? Did you think about him? Did you walk with him? And eliminate the distractions that are keeping you from hearing God. Today for me, and this start of the new year, has been an interesting one, to say the least. There's been things that have been removed from my life. There have things been added into my life. There have been tough conversations that have been had to start off this new fresh season. And all that being culminated, you're seeing yourself forming as a new version. And when you're forming into a new version, it's a scary thing, but also it's a must, as we talked about yesterday, that must climb the mountain, right? It's a duty of ours. It's a responsibility. right? But be careful in this season of communicating yourself that you don't need this or you don't need that, that everything needs to be in perfect alignment to go left or to go right, right? Explore all avenues, because we put so much pressure on ourselves as God is trying to speak to us, right? As we're trying to listen, it seems cloudy. And I know for me, over the last couple of years, some things have been seemingly cloudy. Even though you just keep going, you keep going, you keep going, you keep going. It's like, why? Why is it so hard? Right? And hard is all relative, right? Difficult is the word that you may want to use. Challenging, right? But when we use those words of hard, difficult, and challenging, some of us have a connotation that it can't be done. Man, this is so hard. Why's it gotta be so challenging? Man, I can't do that. Oh man, like I guess that's not for me. The second person can hear God and flip a switch. And some things aren't for you. Let's be real. Some things you gotta be like, this ain't me. This is not me. But you have made peace with that. But some of us in this season need to explore just a little bit further, because many of you are on your brink of your breakthrough season. I was listening to actually my pastor this past Sunday, and he was talking about the statistics of a decade and how long a decade is. And we think about how many decades of life that God is giving a lot of us to live. So you look at this, he used the example of 7, obviously, as a very biblical number. And this concept of 7 decades. And through those decades, we are constantly evolving as God's child. And we are simply children of God. So we look at our lives and saying, man, I haven't figured out anything by the 2nd decade of life. Man, I haven't figured out by the 3rd decade of life. And I saw a beautiful message today as well, and I journaled on it. It was talking about many of us are at our halftime. You think that you're at the finished 4th quarter, but you're literally at your halftime. Some of you haven't even made it to the 1st quarter. And we live each day and we try to break it down saying, man, what if I don't live? What if God doesn't give me the ability to live to 7 decades or 8 decades or 5 decades? And if I'm hitting somebody close this evening, if you've lost a loved one, I'm with you. If you're going through health issues, I'm with you. So what do you do when you're hearing from God and he's saying, hey, just one more step, just one more call, just one more message, just one more connection, just one more try, just bring someone in to mediate a conversation that's tough? What do you say to that? Well, we've got to look from the macro vision of life. We are very small, minuscule beings in the context of the worldly and societal views that are being pressed on us. Minuscule. So what does that mean? And I'm talking to myself here. So if any of this resonates, you're more than welcome to put a hands or something in the chat. I know like we're not, in actual real life together, so we can't get a feedback. I can't see your emotions in your face. So maybe right now you're sitting on the couch. Some of you are looking at your phone. Some of you have your family or people around you right now say, hey, you need to listen into this. Maybe some of you aren't fasting, and that's okay. Maybe you fumbled the bag today. You've already eaten. Like, man, Brian, I'm going for the fast, but I need a message. That's all okay. So you can take bits and pieces. We are perfectly imperfect. So you take this macro vision of what you have for your life and you pull it back into a micro vision and you say, what can I do today? What can I do today that'll set the tone? And then how do I repeat that tomorrow? What's something hard, difficult, challenging that I can do today? We underestimate what we can do and accomplish in not only this week, a day, a year, a month. You've heard the connotation, right? You've heard this before. We underestimate how far we can push ourselves while also remaining present to hear God's word. Man, Brian, I'm tired. We talked about that yesterday. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. Well, maybe you're tired because you aren't hearing God and you aren't hearing the word and you aren't working on the things that are worth it. You aren't actually in your path to lead to serving in your purpose. That's a whole nother conversation of purpose, direction. I am in my mid-third decade of life. I know I've got a lot of people on here. They're like, Brian, I have more wisdom. I also heard something today that said, it does not matter how much experience you have on this earth if you aren't not only in the presence of some spiritual being or nature or universe or belief outside of yourself, and you aren't constantly inputting something new into your mind every day, which is why a lot of us have a lot of regret. We have a lot of ill emotions and feelings towards society. It's like, man, I've been living this long and I've been in this thing for this long and I've been doing this. God, where's my blessing? When's my time? Maybe he's saying, why should I give it to you? What have you been showing the world? You don't have to prove it to me. I know it's within you. What are you showing out to the world? What hard thing did you do today? Did you make another excuse? I told you the vision. I told you what was in your path. I may have put a couple of obstacles in the way, and that's going to stop you. It's okay to let it out. It's okay to have your moment. It's okay to crawl up in a ball sometimes at night and just be like, I don't know what to do. It's okay. It's okay to take red trade after no on a consult call after no on a consult call, after that's too much money to pay for that. Someone says they're going to commit and then they don't commit and you can't do anything about it because that's their own journey to commit to themselves, but also commit to you as a career professional, a relationship, an owner. So do you see the battle that we're fighting, not only within ourselves, but also trying to bring the good people around us, but they're on their own journey. And all you want to say is, man, I wish I had an intermediary in the middle. Is that God? Is that counsel? Is that someone else? How are we able to communicate together to bring everyone somewhat on the same page? And at the end of the day, someone has to choose and say, I heard it. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that mountain was actually climbable. There's no, have you all ever heard of like, what is it? Ridiculousness, or it's, I'll just say the Guinness Book of World Records. I haven't looked at that book in a minute, but just some of the crazy things you're like, wow, like really? You can fit 10 hot dogs in a mouth. What? You can do what? I challenge you actually to go look up the Guinness Book of World Records tonight. I'm going to do it. And just look at the wildly things that are being done that are setting records that make sense and also don't make sense. The stuff that you're like, how is that possible? That is exactly what God is trying to tell you and me. Man, how is this possible? And it's not always a good possible. Why is this happening for me? Can it be reconciled? Can you give me an answer? I need clarity. I need closure. Not always going to get it. And that's what hurts the most. Because you're not going to know why that client didn't sign up with you. That's their own internal battle, because they're fearful potentially of telling you because of their own internal fears of being judged and their ego. You're going to get that email from the career professional, the HR that didn't even know who you were, but you put in a new application and you're like, you don't know me. But they denied you. You go after the girl, you go after the guy, you take the step, you put yourself out there, you try to change, you try to communicate, you try to do better. It's never enough. You're doing all these things and you just keep getting hit with more and more bruises and scars and bruises and scars. And let's uplift this for a second. So I'm going to make a turn really quick. As you keep collecting these scars and bruises over a course of time, the questions that I personally ask for each scar and bruise that I have is that, what can I control from this point forward? And God, universe, spirit, what lesson was that? And could I have done something different to understand the lesson more or to change the narrative of the outcome? Because guess what? The next day you're going to wake up and say, ooh, I can work on that. Ooh, I wasn't even aware of the heightenedness of that character or that way of acting that I was. I didn't even know. If someone asks you right now, are you scared? You have fear in your heart? No, I'm stoic. I'm good. Everything's all good. Just making it. You know, another day. It's Friday. Looking forward to the weekend. If we asked all of ourselves, because all of us have said those things unintentionally, but if you look in your spirit and you're like, man, if I'm actually seeking God's presence in that moment, that's what came out of me? It just is what it is? I'm just grateful for what I have. It's not what you say, it's how you're saying it. God, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful for what you've given me and the ability to steward what you have placed in front of me right now to give unto others. And if you decide to bless me with more, if you decide to bring more, just give me the ability to receive more and then handle that. And if I fumble it, let me start back over and give me another lesson and just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. We look at this and we see that, wow, I'm operating on my own accord. The last year and a half for myself personally has been one of the most spiritually challenging, financially challenging in some sorts, familial, family, relational, friends, partner, you name it. Every day you're putting out a fire. You're just like, man, like I'm trying. I'm doing the best that I can. I'm continuously showing up like you're saying me show up. But guess what? Sometimes there's one little missing piece, and showing up is not even enough. Sometimes it's just throwing up your hands and be like, I don't got it. I don't have the answer. Actually, retraction. Actually allow more desirability. If you have the it factor, if you are a true thought leader, which everyone I believe personally is, they just go to the grave with untapped potential. If that's true, then you will have faith in action, which is my mantra for this year. You will have faith in action that those that are for you and the people around you that are seeking you will discover you by you showing up. Man, is this a good business idea? Will this offer work? Or is it good if I go to this networking event? Should I be over here instead of over there? Should I get my rest, but should I do a little extra? You just navigate and you just flow. And all you have to ask yourself is it in my heart to give just a little bit extra? Is it in my heart to say, God, you're telling me to just rest in this season? But resting does not mean laziness. Resting does not mean active, intentional seeking of God's presence. You are restful, but you know that there's a presence around you at all times because you're being moved and shaped in that moment, but you feel like you're not going anywhere. Next thing you know, the blessing comes the next day. Next thing you know, the end of the week happens. Like, man, that week flew by, but so much came from that week. Has anyone experienced that? I'll take a pause for a second. If this is resonating with you, if you're able to on your phone or wherever you are, if you're on the computer, right? If you're on the big screen, maybe some of you blown me up on, I don't know how I look on the blown up TV, but maybe some of you are on the TV. If you're able to comment or give some type of response, that'd be amazing. Just want to give a moment that if this is resonating with you, I don't care what the response is. You don't have to say 5, 4, something. Just like, man, this is hitting home for me. But guess what? Faith in action means what's the actionable steps? How do I actually seek God and his presence? Let's see. Pray for a deepened desire for God and the thirst for his presence to be in your life. So first, I've got to understand how I'm going to talk and communicate with God, i.e. prayer. So if I'm seeking him, I'm not asking, I'm actually trying to listen. And once I hear that response, or I feel a presence among me, I'm starting to feel emotions. Maybe a tear comes out. Maybe my palms get sweaty. Maybe I'm stuttering. Maybe my fingers are tingling. My toes are curled. I don't know what's going on, but you feel it. So then you just be like, man, you're here. This is right where I'm supposed to be. There you go. Now what do? Now you listen. You're now listening to say, what is my next move in this moment? I did this today. Right behind me in this chair, maybe some of you saw on my story today, I was just reading. I was just sitting and reflecting, just drinking my water, right? Because I'm excited to eat in about 30 minutes. Some of you are like, you haven't eaten all day. It's real over here. Right, it's real. I'm doing about 18 hours. I'm doing technically sun up to sundown, so I need to fit a little bit more food in. But I just feel I'm not even thinking about that. It's like, how are you operating, dude? How do you have the fuel within you to do alive and do this and do that? All I heard back here was just journal. Get up. Journal. Get up. Drink your water. Get up, take a walk. Sit. Sit for another 5 minutes. And for me, this wasn't always habitual. This has not been a habitual nature for my 3.5 decades of life. People think that children of God or believers or like these holier than thou people. I've told you, I've been church hurt. I had my dissonance from church and even the church house. And I was just like, I don't know what to believe. And, you keep asking these things and you grew up and you're forceful, or maybe some of you are just getting into this and you're like, man, I need something to believe in outside of myself because it's just not working. Still do you. But just know that you got someone on your back. You got something beside you. And it needs to be a habitual, active practice. And that is the toughest part. That has been the toughest part even for me. It's like, man, these things got to get paid, and this got to move over here, and then taxes got to get done. And, this, I got to take a trip to go visit family. And then you got to buy Christmas gifts, and then you got to do this. Where's all this going to come from? Oh, they're telling me to save, and then they're telling me to invest, and then society's telling me there's going to be a crash, and then interest rates, and should I buy my home? Should I sell my home? Should I buy another home? Should I get an investment property? Should I get more credit? Should I focus on that? Like, it's so many rolling, masculine, energetic things that society is telling you. But in reality, I have a very holistic nature. I am capitalistic in nature. You work for what you want to work for, and God will present in his own form what is for you. You want that car? Okay. You got to feel God's presence. And if it's for you, you'll start seeing little inches of it. Right? You'll get a model car. Maybe you'll get to ride in one. Maybe you'll see it on the TV multiple times. Maybe it pops up in your feed. Maybe you just go to the dealership just to look. All these things are accumulated and adding up to say, as long as you are doing and walking in the way that I want you to walk, and you're in alignment with where you should be, and you're challenging yourself, it's okay to have the fruits of the world. It's okay to enjoy them. Whatever that is for you, you can replace car for whatever it is for you. If it's traveling, if it's like, man, I kind of want this little jacket I saw. It's okay. I'm about fed up. I'm about fed up about a human being, another child of God, telling someone else, another thought leader, saying you should do this. Again, communication tactics is not what you say, it's how you say it. Have you ever thought about considering this option? Hey, have you ever heard of hey, if this way is your way, have you ever looked the other way? Hey, did you know? You hear the difference of the tone and the curiosity and the questioning. All of those sparked something within you to say, I didn't know that. Maybe I should consider that. I don't feel forced. I feel challenged. I feel like I should pay attention. As you begin to be more woke, as you begin to understand that every answer that we have is in a word from not only God, but then translated down from descendants of God over a course of time in our history books, that everyone in some capacity has been through what you're going through. Just looks a little bit different. Once we have that worldly view on things, we start to look at the arguments. We start to look at the people that we're frustrated with and angry with, and I can't ever listen to them. That's okay. Don't. That's cool. Get the toxic people out of your life. They're truly toxic. But you start to look into someone's soul. You start to look into someone's heart center. You start to realize that, wow, they just don't know. They just don't know. Then you have to ask yourself, man, am I willing to be around? Am I willing to go along this journey with them as a coach, as a mentor, as a colleague, as a parent, as a spouse, as a partner, as a son, as a daughter, as a volunteer? So constantly each day, we're just asking ourselves better questions. And the bigger the question that we ask, which is, man, how big is this comparable to what God has for me? How massive is what I'm going through? It may seem pretty massive, but it puts you in the limelight of just shrinking yourself for just a little bit. And once you shrink yourself a little bit, you begin to open up the opportunities and the expansion that is for you because you feel a weight off of your shoulders. I'll leave you with that. Seeking God's presence. Prayer. Pray for a deepened desire for God and the thirst for his presence in your life. Ask God to remove any barriers that hinder your experience from his fullness, which is what we are doing right now in this fasting season, is you're essentially just removing the barriers that are in the way. And I've redefined barriers now, because a lot of barriers, it's just a gate that can be opened and closed. Opened and closed. Man, I'm going to have a guarded heart from everybody. Forget everybody. I'm just going to do me. I used to be that way. But guess what? Maybe that's just a season where your heart was very, very closed. Your gate was closed. And a lot of folks don't even ask themselves the question like, man, did my gate really need to be closed for an eternity? Or am I willing, and I ask the right questions, to be in a different season and say, man, my heart's back open. So allow the barriers, because what you'll hear in society is you'll hear, man, close your guard against discouragement, guard against retribution, guard against doubt, guard against negative people. And it's like, what is negative? Someone says something bad about you? Does that make them negative? Someone hurt you for a season because they were going through something? Oh man, I just can't do that. And my summary in this is that, going back to what I said earlier, when you start to get that worldly view, you start to feel very isolated, because you're not smarter than anybody else. You're not more woke. You're not the best person on the planet. You're not better than anyone else. But you can start to see inklings of where you can improve self-awareness, and you're willing to. You can also see where others are either not or not getting proper counsel or guidance. Well, Brian, how do you seek proper counsel or guidance? That's your own journey to go on. I can tell you that for me, I'm trying to talk to someone or be with someone or be around someone that not just hears me. There's a time and a place for that. Because as an extension from God in his presence and talking, we also have to live in community. So I want to be around someone or talk to someone that's walked the walk that I've been on, or they are where I want to go, spiritually, relationally, financially, whatever it might be. If I just want a sounding board, I can talk to my dog. I don't even have a dog. I'm just looking down like, I just want a sounding board, talk to the wall. I just want a yes man or a yes woman and to take my side and do this and do that. Right? So, all that being said, you're not alone. You're not in isolation. You shouldn't have to figure out life alone. Be in community around individuals that will challenge you, that understand that you're perfectly imperfect, that you have stuff that you're going through, and that stuff may just be a season, that you can change those things around you and change that nature and change that behavior and make more money and get back on the bandwagon, get back in community, jump back in with excitement, without discouragement, without judgment, without, man, I just been out of connection for about 6 months. Man, I fumbled the bag, and it took me a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years to get on the bandwagon to even change. Now you're talking about another 5, another 2, another year. Do not underestimate what you can accomplish. Today was an awesome day from a um, just achievement standpoint. It was very small, but we passed our 150K combine for our futures account. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. Essentially, it tests the best traders. And I don't even consider myself a trader. I don't define myself as anything other than Brian. Not even Dr. Brian, because that was earned and that was an addition. I came into this world as Brian. But when I look at that, I'm like, wow, okay. I start to look around just like anyone else. And I'm like, well, our Discord isn't packed just yet. It's got a lot of people, but not active as I would want. I'd want y'all in there, not only just for the finance stuff and this and that. I know y'all are busy, but man, all these other people, 1,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers. I'm like, man, I'm doing exactly what they're doing. Man, people come into our community. I say I come into our community and they're like, yo, how did you just come into my life? Like, how did you just find out about this? Where have you been? And that's where that doubt creeps in. It's like, man, like, am I him? Are you her? We passed it in 4 days. And all the records that I saw passing 150K combine took a month. I was just locked in back-to-back solid trade. Back-to-back, I felt God's presence in my movements, right? In my analysis, in my way I was operating my day, in how I felt. My neck's been hurting, my back's been hurting, right? Stuff like that. It's just started to like, oh man, feeling good. I don't think that was my own doing. So I'm like, wow, this is powerful. This is powerful. You can start to channel this energy into anything that you have going on for you. And you start to realize that people are just watching. I don't need to seek. They will find. I started to just transparently start to leave people on red. My link's right there. If you really want it, I'll answer some questions. My link's right there. How many times I got to show the community? How do I search? It's right around the corner. Now, if you click and you're discouraged or you don't know or you need a little bit of oomph or clarity, that's cool. But you start to retract just a little bit. But you're not retracting from what you're called to do. You're actually drawing closer to God's presence in a spiritual nature. And that starts to have an aura, right? You ever been around someone and you're like, man, what they got going on? You start to feel them through the screen. You start to feel their energy, and it doesn't mean they're not going through stuff. It just means, man, they got something in them. That's what it is. All right. So I'm going to read our pivot year. And actually before that, I'm going to read our scripture, the pivot year, and then we are going to close out with a prayer. Okay. I'm not going to go too deep on our readings today, but if you want to read the Walking with God devotional, you're more than welcome. I'll read the scripture, I'll read the pivot year, and I'll leave you off with a prayer. Scripture, Psalm 42, verses 1-2. As the deer pants for the water brooks, so my soul pants for you, O God. As the deer pants for the water brooks, so my soul plants for you, O God. You know that that E.T., that Eric Thomas viral video? I think it was back from like 2007. Maybe it was even earlier. Y'all give me an actual date. If you don't know who Eric Thomas is, or E.T., motivational speaker, been through some stuff, just look him up. If you don't want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, you're not ready. This is essentially saying the same thing. I've got to be willing to seek what is for me. And I've got to be willing to fight and communicate that I want this. First to God, second to yourself, and then okay in my trusted counsel, in my partners, in my close community. If you don't have the board of directors around you, you got yes people, you got people that you're trying to lead everybody, right? And they're right in your circle. You got to have outside perspective. I don't care if it's free or paid. I'm actually including free and paid at this point. Free and paid. Where our money goes, our heart follows. It's important. Some of you tithe, some of you pay your bills, some of you have to keep the lights on. Each and everything has an energetic exchange. So we got to look into our hearts. We've got to say, man, am I seeking a spirit? Am I seeking faith in action? Am I seeking something outside of myself? Am I seeking something greater that I'm called to do? I may not know how to do it yet. I may not know where the money's going to come from yet. I may not know how I'm going to make it out of this yet. I don't know how I'm going to start over. Some things are a very definitive answer, and some things it's like, God, you're challenging me not to give up on this yet. You're challenging me to make one more step. You're challenging me to reach out one more time. All right. The pivot year, day 7. Maybe you don't need to find more energy. Maybe you just need to find a dream that makes you actually want to get up in the morning. Maybe you need to find something that gives back more than it takes. Maybe you need to stop trying to be good at the 100 things that do not light up your soul and finally choose the one that does. The one that asks you to risk, to lay your heart bare, to try again, even though you're scared and fearful. You're not failing because you're not motivated. You're not supposed to get far on a path that was never yours to walk. This feeling of being stuck, that's a whole other conversation. This feeling of being stuck, I can go on a whole tangent. Some of you have heard me say on my different platforms that, Brian, would you ever go back into pharmacy? Like, I'm just so curious how you left that. Why? Why would you put yourself in a situation where it just didn't make sense? You know why? Because I was on the wrong train. I was on the wrong train. That path wasn't for me to walk. Well, pharmacists make good money and, it's stability and, you went to so much schooling. That's 4 years out of the next 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 to 60 that God has for me. So you're telling me just because I should, that even after a short period of time where we think it's a lifetime, you can't change? You can't learn something new. You can't shift. You can't control how you show up. You can't, man, someone said to me the other day, it's like, man, I can't even see you in a white coat behind the counter. When I go to the pharmacy, I'm like, man, Dr. B's a pharmacist. Like, I couldn't even see him back here because I wouldn't even hear this. Hey, picking up today? Oh, what's your last name? Okay, cool. It'll be right up. Give us about 5 minutes. It'll be right up. Got any questions for you today? Okay, bye. That was me. When you feel like your voice is suppressed, when you feel like, man, can I be a real estate professional? Can I really be this different career? It's going to take so much time and I'm going to have to go back and do this and do that. Like, can I really be like, I never even thought about this trading thing. Can I be a trader? Like maybe I just do it on the side, but like, can I be an investor? Man, I didn't learn about money. I didn't go to school for econ, like all this economy stuff. And it's just not me. Like I throw it out the window. Like I'll let someone else do that. That's cool. Delegation is important. But if you feel it in your soul and you're just like, man, I'm so curious and interested. What did it say? It said, choose the one thing. And if it's a culmination of things, that's okay. I'm a very multi hyphenated, as I've been told, person, and I'm accepting of that. Choose the one thing, the one that asks you to risk. That job that you're a little bit fearful of to go after. It's like, man, I don't have the qualifications for that. Ask you just to talk with the recruiter. The speaking engagement that, man, all these other people got all this stuff going on, but I talk just as well and even better. They can say all their fancy stuff and do all this stuff, but I resonate with the crowd. Man, this person has so many other subscribers and followers. And, if I say I've got an offer in a business and, this and that, they're going to look and not see any results just yet. That's okay. It asks you to risk, to lay your heart bare, and to ultimately try again. Man, I'm tired of getting beat down. I'm exhausted, man. Who wants to get beaten down every day? The person that is called to do something greater. Ask any person. Maybe some of you. I'm gonna challenge you, and I think you're called. You're tapped. I just been beaten. And from external point of view, everything looks good. Man, got a little money in my pocket, you know, got the spouse, got the wife, we got the house, we're doing okay, and there's something burning in you. You don't know what it is. And people are burning inside, talking and communicating not only to themselves, but they're having this left and right, back and forth internal battle. And then they communicate that to the wrong person, telling big dreams to small-minded people. Well, that you got to do X, Y, and Z. I'm just being real. I don't know. I've heard that, that goes south. I've heard, that's a gamble. I heard that's risky. That's a projection. I will call anybody out that's projecting their negativity on where they are not headed onto me. You should too. But when you find those people that are going somewhere, you find those people, they're not even there yet, but you're like, man, you got a spirit that's so driven. You're going to get there. You may be knocked down to the bare bones ground, but someone's going to see something like, yo, you see this person over here? Ain't nobody picked them up yet. You heard their voice on YouTube. No one's signed them yet. Man, I know I don't like things, or I know I'm not paying to be in the community. I know I'm not doing that, but have you heard that woman or man on IG? Here's their IG. I'm just gonna push it your way. Have you heard of them? So being in God's presence, he's moving and shifting puzzle pieces. People are talking about you. In a good or negative light, but they're talking. And all they can do, as long as you have eyes, the moment that you don't have eyes, you've not only lost your vision, but no one else believes your vision either. Because guess what? It's cooped up and stuck inside. So they come to the end of their life at whatever point that is, and no one even knew. I didn't know you wanted to do that. I didn't know you felt that way for this long. Projection, fear of judgment. What you're actually doing by communicating your vision is you're challenging other people to do the same. So as you do for you, as you're hearing the word from God, as you're seeking God's presence, you are actually now taking it from upstairs through your body, through your spirit, through your mouth, through your gut, your movement out into the world through your voice, whether it's stuttering voice, whether it's I don't know what to say, that can be developed. Well, Brian, I don't speak like you, man. Like I couldn't do this live thing. Do you have a script? Like where did you practice? No, I just jumped on. Literally right before this, I was drinking my water and I went to the restroom. Where are your notes? I don't know. Up here. Actually in here. How do you look into the camera, man? There's no one behind there. How am I feeling you right now? And I see you. Because I know I have God's presence. And that comes from talking and communicating to God in different seasons. That then comes from talking out into the world and communicating your message so many times that people are like, man, this person doesn't stop. I can't not stop watching them. I can't not stop reaching out. Like, what's going on, man? You up to something new? You know that cousin or a family member or a friend that's always up to something new. And you're curious because you like to get in folks' business. Well, guess what? Are you that person that like, oh, they're probably doing the same old thing. Same old, same old. Oh, yeah, you still doing X, Y, and Z. You know, I want to tell someone, no, you met me in that season. Someone literally told me about a month ago, Brian, you still doing that health coaching thing? Ma'am, that was 8 years ago. I still obviously coach on health and wealth, right? Right. That health associates with that. I can still give someone macronutrients and guide them through the process of changing their body physically. That's never left me. It's a skill. But like, wow, that's okay. But that's how much time has elapsed of growth. I'm not looking at them. I don't care about them, what they said. I'm like, wow, I've matured and grown. That does not mean jumping from thing to thing to thing to thing, because there's someone on here. It's like, man, what about Brian? What about sticking with something for a duration of time and giving it that 10,000 hours and giving that continuous effort along a long period of time? Yeah, I get it. You've been at the job for 5 years. You've been in the same profession for 10, 20 plus years. Yes. But ask yourself, have you evolved? Are you asking yourself different questions? Do you have a different aura about you? Are you asking for more because you've earned it? Right? Yesterday's price is not today's price. I've evolved. You're asking for 8-year-old Brian. Sorry, missed him. That's not your fault. You just now come into awareness. So, all that being said, if you'll bow your heads or just be in God's presence, and if it feels distant right now, I'm giving God the ability to show up in your life and wherever your house, your home, your car, out on a walk, wherever you are. If there's other people around you, touch them, right? Hold their hand, whatever it is that you feel good about. Right? Just place your hand on somebody, place your hand on yourself. Right? Just be in a present moment. God, thank you so much. Thank you so much for just being with us this evening. Thank you so much for allowing the space and the opportunity for someone to just say, hey, I've got somewhere else to be. I could have been eating. I could have been going out to eat. I could have been going on a walk, going to the gym, working on something else. I could have been sitting and doing nothing. But you brought me here in this space and place to just ask myself, what do I need to hear today? How can I seek you more? I'm not asking you, God, to be given anything, but I am praying that you would present the opportunities and the skills and the knowledge and the ability to continuously ask the right questions and to ask myself that I am perfectly imperfect. Give me the ability to, if I'm surrounded by other people, give me the ability to lift them up. Give me the ability to be as strong as I possibly can be because it's weighing on me. Give me the ability to not only seek you, but to seek in community. I'm not meant to do this life alone. Allow the right people, the right energy, the right finances, the provisions that I need to carry out what you have for me. Thank you so much where you have brought me from and ultimately where you're taking me to. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Can I get a one in the chat, everybody good? Can I get a one in the chat, everybody good? Can I get a one in the chat, everybody good? Can I get a one in the chat if everybody is good? And what do I mean by good? Because words are powerful. You're just like, I feel it. I may not know where to take it, but I feel it. This is going to carry so far into this next season for you. Tomorrow, there's going to be a breakthrough. And if you do have one, let me know. If you're in the community, let me know. If you're not yet in the community, what are you doing? Like what community, Brian? Leverage University. It's our thought leader hub. That's just the entrance door. That's just the lobby. That's just the place where we hang out. That's our coffee shop. That's our thought leader hub. That's just where it's like, man, I know who I'm surrounding myself with. Thank you so much. Thank you, God, for allowing us to spend this time together. And until next time, i.e. tomorrow, let's eat. Peace, love, and blessings to you all. I'll see y'all